Okay, welcome to Pat's Cast, a special trade edition. My name's Matt.
I'm Chris.
And this is, of course, a special edition due to the breaking news that Max Paddock has been traded to Prince Albert. Now, this is for a 2020 second round pick. Now, I was looking, I don't know if that's going to be their pick or the one, they had one that they owned from Lethbridge. They had two for 2020. So we'll find that out at some point, maybe. And in addition to that, we have a player, Jacob Brook. Now, he is a 17-year-old forward. He is 6'2", 185 pounds. He doesn't have great stats this year yet, but we did manage to get an interview. You did the scrum with John Paddock, the media release. And he was quite high on him, actually. So, just what's your initial impression of this trade?
Well, we knew it was coming. Not new, but we figured it was going to be coming. You're going to move on from one of your best assets, and because this team does need to restock the cupboards. And in the interview there, John really stressed the fact that he was looking for an O2 skater. He was not interested in another draft pick. His words were, "It's just too far down the line." He wants to build around these 17s and 16-year-olds that we have on the team currently. Sounds like he's going to be out for a bit. He's got a small injury that needs to be looked at, and so we're not going to see him for a bit. But it's what we expected.
It's one of those things that we were all expecting, but Max has just been such a big part of this team through the Memorial Cup year and the rebuild years, and really has become kind of a fan favorite. I mean, he's clearly the most valuable player on this team. Just if he has, like we've said before, if he has a bad game, the team really struggles without him. And it's reminiscent of the Jake and Nick trade last year. You're expecting it, but when it finally does come, it's a little bit sad. But it's all part of rebuilding, and like you alluded to, and we'll hear in the interview with John, that it's we're building for not necessarily next year, but the years coming up, and that's why it was nice to get a draft pick as well as a 17-year-old player. And you don't want to be waiting 2 or 3 years down the line. It seems like they're trying to align the picks and the players for not necessarily next year, but it'll be the year after. And that kind of comes into play too, because you traded Max to a divisional opponent, but he's only going to be here for one more year in the WHL, that is. So, it's not that big of a concern if you have him in your division, and playing him 8 times a year, which we might be. So, do you want to just get to the interview now?
We're in the midst of, maybe even in a bit earlier than the middle of the stage of a rebuild. He was our player that could bring us the most assets, and specifically with Jacob, we need a bridge. It was very important for us to get an O2 born player, sort of a bridge from where we are at with some numbers in the O1s going ahead to our O4 group that we liked last year. So things just made a lot of sense in those aspects, and getting a couple of draft picks, of course, is important.
How tough was it to make this trade?
And it's just like all trades are tough. There isn't trades that aren't tough. Yes, players that have been here for their careers or been significant contributors from our past things means, you remember it. You remember Sammy's exploits and Nick and Jake and so forth, and Max and Memorial Cup, but that's, they run out. It's not like we have 10 and 12 and 15-year careers here. They have 3, 2, 4, so it's just part of it. I don't want to say it's business, because it's not just business, but it's just what has to be done.
With the deadline being tomorrow, there was thought that there'd be a lot of interest in Max, so it's sort of surprising that the deal was struck so early. Had the market dried up for Max, and this was the best you could get, or not?
No, I don't think there's, for us, it's a very difficult deadline with the going on the U.S. trip. But there's been some interest, and Curtis and I had talked quite a while ago, and then he renewed it in the last little bit.
You don't get a goaltender back. Is that to say that there's other moves being made to get a goaltender here?
No. We have Ben Bellick is hurt at the moment. We're going to be recalling Matthew Keeper for a week, but our goaltenders will be Bus and
John, you've always been incredibly professional in separating, the personal family ties, but was it different, trading your nephew away?
I don't think so. I never really let myself think about it, probably, maybe to some extent. But no, I don't think it was. I mean, I coached my brother at one time. Scott Sandlin, who coaches at Bemidji, was on the team, and he said about how he had never known we're brothers except we were. And, I think it's the way it has to be. Doesn't mean that I don't have feelings for him, and it's a little bit different with family. I actually texted my 4 daughters and said, I traded Max, but your inheritance is still in place.
What's the final words you had with Max? Because obviously, I'm guessing he's a little bit more than just an ordinary player because of that relationship. Is there any conversation that you had to have with him?
No, I talked to him last night. Let him know because we finished this off last night at 1 or so in the morning. And actually, the last thing I did, I got an autograph for some kid that my wife knew. And I wanted to talk to him again, but he was gone.
Fleiss has been traded. Max has been traded. Is it safe to say that this team is pretty much done now, or can we expect a couple more deals before Friday at 4?
I don't know. You never know, but I don't. We're at 13 forwards and 7D and 2 goalies. We're real happy with how our young players have played since Christmas. Drew, Sloan, Doobie, Kai Mitchell is healthy. He definitely needs to get into that mix on a regular basis, not like the first half. So we feel we're on a trajectory. We can't slight what Max has done lately for us. I think he's in the top 3 or 4 goalies in the league and then won some games for us. But I like how our players are playing, the team is playing, and we expect to have success in the second half.
When you look at what you got for Max, there's some that think that you could have gotten maybe more for him next year when he was a 20-year-old. Did that weigh into your thought process?
No 20-year-olds bring in more. This is the time to trade him at all.
You mentioned the importance of getting that 17-year-old in Jacob. What else can you tell us about his skill set?
He's a big, fast, strong winger who has some upside. Different players, sometimes it just doesn't work some places. He wasn't playing as much since he came back from his knee injury. And to enlighten you, his other knee has a cartilage tear. He won't be playing for a little while, but it's no concern to us. It's no concern making the trade. But I think just the potential. He's really good friends with Drew Englot, which I didn't know until I talked to him. And from what I gather, they have the same sort of approach. And I think it's obvious to everybody who comes to our games how Drew plays the game. Big, fast, strong. So we're excited to add somebody like that.
How long do you think he can play?
He's going to have the surgery next Thursday, so he's not going to play soon. But he expects to himself, he wants to. And unless there's something more serious, he'll play before the end of the season.
I'm guessing we know the answer to this, seeing you've done several of them already this year, but is it tougher trading him to a divisional opponent or not?
Well, it entered my mind, providing, I hope his career, I hope it takes off playing behind this better team and he gets drafted or something. That would be ideal for him and so forth. But there's a good likelihood he'll be back, and Prince Albert doesn't not lose any forwards next year. They're going to be a really strong team. So that enters my mind, but we're not in that class right now. So it just sort of is what it is. We'll get back in that class, and some of it will be to do with the picks that we got, and some of it will be to do with Jacob, and so that's just another time.
What was Max's reaction to the trade when you told him?
He was glad. He's happy to. He wants to play. He saw how he played, or people saw how he played as a 17-year-old in the Memorial Cup. I think that's his goal again, to play at the biggest moment.
Was Brooke the guy that you used in last round? Was it difficult to find him out of there?
It was difficult, and that's the age level or age group that we needed a player in. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have traded him. Not saying I wouldn't have, but I wasn't much interested in a deal with strictly draft picks, even if it happened to include a first or something. That's just too far down the road overall. We needed, as I said earlier, a bridge player here. So he was a big part of it.
Did you get a lot of calls on him? On Max?
Well, you just have to look at the teams that I think need goaltending, or people think they need goaltending. So there was 4 or 5 teams out there that inquired at some point.
Max, what level is his skating, John?
Elite skater, powerful skater. So yeah, he'll be. I'm guessing he'll be the fastest guy on the team when it's done.
Not quite a toss Wagner level. I mean, that's.
I wasn't going to mention that word. I wasn't going to mention that word. I'm not mentioning that word. That's your word.
Okay.
People have talked about that a little bit, but I mean, Austin blows by guys at the National Hockey League level, so I don't think that's fair to compare anybody to him.
Max had kind of been the backbone of some of the recent success. The guys had started talking in playoffs. So how tough is that kind of to take him out of the lineup for the current group? Is it just, it is what it is, like you said?
Well, yeah, it is what it is. I don't mean to say that lightly, but and we're not at the same stage as we were our first year, or my first year here, when people thought we weren't going to make the playoffs and made those big trades. But it's similar on a smaller basis, as I mentioned earlier. The strides that Drew has taken has been noticeable since Christmas for Sloan, for Doobie. I think Jake Johnson has just been solid back there. So our young players, guy gets his feet under him, are going to continue to take a step. And we've had some good leadership and some key moments from other players. So we expect to win some hockey games. And Donovan Buskey, I didn't see the game of Brandon he won, but I've seen the game against Brandon that we lost here, period 4. There hasn't been a bad goal going on them, and they will go in once in a while as any goalie, but our goaltending is in good hands.
Good. And so what do you feel about what he said in that interview? Any highlights in there?
Oh, well, it sounds like Brooke is he's got some speed, apparently.
Yeah.
So elite skater.
I liked the bit of correlation, or whatever you want to call it, to Austin Wagner. He wasn't really willing to go there, but it sounds like he's a speedy skater. Of course, friends with Drew Englot, which is encouraging. We've spoke quite highly about Drew lately on our programs, and if he's anything like him and has work ethic like Drew, then I think we'll be good. A few concerning remarks about our current goaltending situation, with Belloc being hurt and calling up keeper. So going out west, which we talked about last episode, it's going to be a tough road trip, and maybe relying a little bit on Matt Keeper.
Yeah, that's a little concerning, because as much as he looks good, he's clearly not ready for the WHL level, I don't think, at this time. But I mean, it is what it is. They obviously didn't want to call up Spencer Welke. We still haven't seen him yet, but we'll see how it goes. Buskey's going to have to carry the load here on this trip, and maybe Belloc's back near the end of the trip, and he can see some action there. But it'll be interesting. And then another thing is, we, not to forget about this, but we moved on from Tyson Feist as well here, and they're kind of clearing out that 18-year-old logjam we kind of got for next year, because right now we're still sitting at 6 skaters and a goalie as 19s next year. Moving some of those even next year as well.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about this injury that Jacob does have, and he's hoping that he'll be back this year. I don't know. It sounds like, if it's surgical, it sounds kind of like a torn meniscus or something. If you've ever heard of another guy having that injury, I don't know. I'd be a little surprised to see him back this year, maybe the end of the year. I don't know. They may not want to push it yet either.
Yeah, and we do have the bodies in the forward group now. We don't need per se right now, so I don't think that's a big concern for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
You've still got Sanders that isn't seeing a ton of ice, but so you still have one extra forward at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other impressions you want to take away from this today?
No. I thought maybe. There's still another 24 hours or so to go till the deadline, but I thought maybe. There's still lots of time, but one of the 20s would go. I think all three of them have value, but it's a little harder to move a 20. We've seen some 20 movement today. Jade Joseph got moved again.
Yeah.
Man, that guy must live out of a suitcase. But unfortunate for him, he's leaving Kelowna, and he's on to Tri-City. Tri-City has an open 20 still, I believe, but who knows? I thought we could get some value for them, but obviously it seems like this year's a little slow compared to years past at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's still 24 hours to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's again, thanks to Max for his time here. Again, became fan favorite, and certainly a big piece of this team is now missing, but good to see. It's the direction this team's going. We were expecting one of the goaltenders that we started the year to be moved. Now we see both of them get moved, so kind of sad that way. But no, it's going to be a couple tough months, I think, for the rest of the year. But certainly things are looking up in the next year or two for the Pats, I think.
Yeah, and go back to that, having both those guys at the start of the year, I thought for sure we'd run with one of them for the whole year and then keep one of them as a 20, because you'd think both McNabb and Paddock would be back as a 20. And I don't think the goalie situation has worked out the way they wanted it to, unfortunately. But it is what it is, and yeah, we're just going to have to deal with it. There's always the off season. Something could happen in the off season as well, too. So the team's currently on the bus out to Tri-Cities, and it'll be a new look team when they get back. And okay, thanks for everyone for watching that. I'm glad Chris could get out and get the entire scrum. You'll probably hear little bits of it on the news or other media outlets, but we were able to bring you the whole thing. So thanks, Chris, for doing that. Yeah, no problem.
All right.
My hand in the video there on TV.
Yeah.
Again, so.
Right on. Good stuff. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.